I was sitting at the dining table, watching my husband, Vladislav, carefully ladle steaming broth into bowls. His movements were steady, almost ritualistic, yet there was something unnervingly unusual about them that night. You see, Vlad was not the kind of man who enjoyed the kitchen. Cooking, serving, cleaning, that was never his domain. At best, he would bring me a cup of tea when I was sick. But tonight, for reasons he did not explain, he insisted on preparing dinner himself. The surprise was not just mine. Even his mother, Tatyana Nikolaevna, who never missed an opportunity to scold me for laziness or incompetence, sat there in silence. She simply watched him with an unreadable expression as he placed a bowl before her. "Well then, ladies, enjoy," Vlad said softly, placing my plate in front of me last. I murmured my thanks, but I didn't lift the spoon. I didn't even inhale the fragrant steam rising from the surface. Instead, I studied him. He avoided my eyes. He bent his head over his phone, scrolling, tapping nervously, as if waiting for something. And in that moment, memory struck me. A week earlier, during a routine checkup, the doctor had asked if I was taking any strong medications. There had been irregularities in my blood tests, anomalies that did not make sense. I had laughed it off, blaming fatigue or perhaps a laboratory mistake. But now, sitting before a golden broth that carried an oddly chemical undertone beneath its aroma, I felt the sting of recognition. My hand trembled as I picked up the spoon. Was I mad? Was I truly suspecting my husband, this man I had lived with, loved, trusted, for attempting to poison me? It seemed absurd. Impossible. And yet, why had he been so nauseatingly affectionate all day? Why had he insisted I relax, promising to take care of everything? Why, of all nights, had his mother agreed to join us, though she usually refused family meals? I coughed lightly, pretending to adjust my napkin. My fingers brushed against the edge of Tatyana Nikolaevna's bowl. She had gone to fetch bread from the kitchen. And in that brief absence, almost without thought, I slid my bowl aside and swapped it with hers. By the time she returned, I was calmly smoothing the napkin back into place. Vlad, seated across from me, gave no sign that he had noticed, or perhaps he had, and chose silence. His mother sat down heavily, as she always did, gave me her customary disapproving glance, then dipped her spoon into my soup. To my astonishment, she muttered, "Not bad, Vladek. Didn't expect this from you." And she ate. I stirred my untouched portion slowly, pretending to cool it. But inside me, panic thundered. My heart pounded so loudly I feared they could hear it across the table. Thoughts clashed violently in my head. What if I'm wrong? What if there's nothing in it? What if this is just paranoia, coincidence, a cruel trick of my imagination? The minutes dragged. 9 of them. 9 eternal minutes. Then came the sound, a harsh, rasping cough. Tatyana Nikolaevna's face contorted. Her hand shot to her throat. Something, she stammered, pushing back her chair. Her son leapt to his feet, knocking his own chair to the floor, and rushed to her side. "Mama? Mama, what is it?" His voice cracked with panic. She clutched at her chest. Her lips paled, then blued. Her eyes rolled with terror. I sat frozen, watching the scene unfold as if through a haze. My bowl, untouched, still steaming, stood before me like an accusation. "Call an ambulance." "Now!" Vlad roared, turning to me, desperation etched across his face. I rose slowly, mechanically, fumbling for my phone. Our eyes met across the table. For the briefest instant, there was no mistaking it. The horror in his gaze was not only for his mother's suffering, but for the dreadful realization of what had just occurred. The ambulance arrived within 15 minutes. They worked quickly, injecting an antidote, forcing air into her lungs. By some miracle, her heart did not stop. Later, at the hospital, doctors confirmed it, traces of a powerful sedative in her bloodstream. Enough, if consumed fully, to paralyze breathing and end a life. If she had eaten the whole bowl, she would have been gone. Back at the house, silence weighed upon us like a physical burden. Vlad sat slumped on a chair, head in hands, his face pale and lifeless. I curled up opposite him, knees to my chest, staring at a fixed point on the wall. The clock ticked. The refrigerator hummed. That was all. Finally, he spoke. His voice was barely more than a whisper. "You knew, didn't you?" I lifted my head slowly. "I suspected," I answered. "Why didn't you eat the soup?" "Because," I said, my voice flat, "I wanted to live." He covered his face with his palms and began to sob quietly. I watched him, and what I felt was not anger, not fear, but a hollow, icy emptiness. "You wanted to get rid of me, didn't you?" I asked softly. Because of the apartment? Because you didn't want to divide the property in a divorce. He shook his head weakly, but then muttered, it was a mistake. I didn't think it would turn out like this. I let out a cold, humorless laugh. And you didn't think the bowls could be switched? At that precise moment, the district officer entered the room. He had been called by the paramedics, who suspected poisoning. His manner was polite but firm as he asked Vlad to come with him. I remained behind. The table still bore the untouched bowl, my bowl. I rose, carried it to the sink, and poured the contents slowly down the drain. My hands shook uncontrollably. I knew what awaited me: interrogations, court hearings, property division, endless testimonies. But above all, I knew this: I had survived. And I would never again allow anyone, husband or otherwise, to hold my life in their hands. I reached for my phone. There, unsent, was the message I had written to my mother before dinner. If you don't hear from me within an hour, come to the apartment. The code is 1992. Thank God, she had not needed to use it. But I left the message as a reminder of how close I had come to death. Death from nothing more than a spoonful of soup.